Hi everyone! So we're going to today look at the work in hand pillar, and some of you have asked for specific things in the work in hand for that we take a look at today in this video with Millie. So I thought that would be quite nice to run through a few of the things that you've asked about. And also I will be mentioning common pitfalls or holes that we can easily fall into, especially in the touchstones, that you can see common tendencies of how tool handling, for example, tool handling tendencies perhaps in not quite the beneficial way. So we can look at things like that, and yeah, just general sort of training tips in this pillar to help guide you as best as possible. So a lot of you again are just starting to look at working with two reins. So as you can see here, the setup I have with Millie, she has the two reins. So she has the Cavesson rein with the two reins, and obviously a curb bit in. This is an academic curb, which I got from the Marcus Holst website. I can put the link of that in the Facebook group, in our study group, for any of you that don't know Marcus Holst. But he stocks all the types of curb bits that we recommend, and this is just a kind of standard academic curb. So quite a long shank, but just helps to create more leverage to help lift the pole, keep the pole high in the Guernier half holds. But of course we don't use this type of curb as we would in a kind of modern dressage curb with steady pressure on all the time. It's very much with the wheelbarrow reins, ask give. So we help create a lever effect with this curb, and once the horse assumes that position, we then push the hands away to give the horse the reins again, because the reins always belong to the horse. So yeah, so this setup is fairly standard for straightness training. What we tend to recommend is that once you get to the exercise rhombert in walk-in straightness training in the working hand pillar, we tend to recommend you start thinking about putting the horse in the curb bit, because otherwise the risk is, once you start working on more exercises such as the rhombert, more collection, the risk is, if you're just working in a Cavesson alone, the risk is you can start shortening the neck, because that can be the problem with the Cavesson. Much as a snaffle bit would be, is it can create just shortening in the neck here. Whereas the curb, the idea with the curb is, when you're getting both hind legs to the centre of mass and working more on this connection of the hind legs and then collection, it helps to keep the neck nice and long and the pole high. So that's why we tend to work with this type of a curb, and at that point in your training with your horses, when you've reached that point with the rhombert. So when many of you have, and as I say, many of you are wanting to look at that. So there's also lots of information in the ebook about the bits. You can read more information about the different bits in there. And so obviously I won't go into detail here, but you can also seen some birds in the trees. I think some pigeons nesting or something going on. Is there, Millie? But you can also, in Mastery Module 5.2.3 in the Work in Hand module, you can also study that module to look at what you're going to do with your tools and your tool handling, going from one rein to two reins. And specifically, you wanted to look at how to hold the two reins, and there's a couple of ways to do it. I'll quickly mention about the Phyllis technique, but I won't show you that because that's very much that's covered in the Mastery module. It's not the way I hold the reins. I hold them in a more kind of, in a way, sort of straightforward position in terms of how I would almost with riding. So what I would do is I would pick up the, see how clean my horse is? I've just been rubbing her. Nice. I don't know if you can see my lovely, nice, clean hands. Not very black hands, but yeah. So I would pick up the direct sorry, just the cavesson rein, and just really have that between my index finger and thumb, and then the curb rein, I can pick it up and hold it in my 2 fingers, next 2 fingers down. So I have the reins like that in this hand. And of course in riding actually we do cross them over, have them up the other way around like that. But in the work in hand, it's in a way easier to hold them like in this position with them not crossing over. And then from the outside reins, same thing, you pick up, have them laying across the neck, you pick up the cavesson rein with your index finger, and then the curb rein with your middle finger. So you have them in that position. And then that way you can, when you're with your horse, you can then, the aim really with work in hand is to try and be in a more of a position where you would be with riding. So you're more here, near the horse's shoulder. So when the horse is in more self-carriage and balance, you can guide them more in this position, and have your hands more closely together. A pitfall students often get into is that they can be a little bit too much guiding. A couple of pitfalls is that they can end up being too much guiding, as in groundworks, they're very close to the nose, especially if they're just doing a cavesson rein. They end up here, and then they hold it like that, and then their elbows are very much here, and that puts you in a very unstable, ungrounded position, because your elbows are very high and you can easily lose your balance. And the idea about being able to be more in this position is you keep your elbows in at your side, and you're much more in a grounded position where your energy is lowest to the floor. And from here you have a lot more power position, a lot more core stability. So yeah, so that's one of the biggest pitfalls we see in work in hand, is students being too much here in a groundwork, using a groundwork rein, or they're too much here. So in a lunging rein, they bring the rein too much to the inside and try and influence the horse to make a bending too much from the inside all the time. But really with work in hand, it's about now trying to feel, because of course in groundwork and lunging where you only have one rein, it's all about a direct rein, and the direct rein is influencing the bending, and work in hand is you have this direct rein to again influence the bend, but you also have the indirect reins which are about influencing the shoulders. So with the indirect reins, it's what we call the lasso reins. If you imagine just the reins just around a horse's neck, and for example if you clip the rein off the cavesson, but I have my reins, just the cavesson reins around her shoulder, it's more the feeling that with indirectly you are influencing the shoulder. So I ask her a little bit over with the shoulders and she takes a step over. And that's the effect of the indirect reins, is to influence, good girl, let's go back a little bit again really because of the camera not liking us so close, good girl. Yeah, the indirect reins are about influencing the shoulder, so you can either place them in a shoulder in, and we'll just move back a little bit more here, Millie, the camera, good girl. Yeah, so the indirect reins are really about influencing the shoulder position, so you can ask with an outside indirect rein to bring the shoulders in a shoulder in or shoulder 4 position, and with the inside indirect rein you can bring the shoulders more out. For example, if the horse is coming too much in with the shoulders, you can bring them more out with this rein, bring the shoulder out. So really you're really touching on this lasso effect with work in hand, and how the reins can help position the shoulder placement. The other thing to this sort of setup with 2 reins is it's good to have different widths of reins. I have the cavesson rein slightly thicker and the curb rein a bit thinner, but you could have it the other way around, whatever suits you, but this is just kind of comfortable for me. And I also have the cavesson rein is a brown leather, and the curb rein is black. So it's good to have them different colours as well, so you can, when you're working alongside the horse and you drop a rein, you can see quickly and easily which one is which. So that's a good idea as well. So that's kind of covered a little bit the pitfalls about sort of tool handling and yeah, how we're sort of guiding the horse and work in hand, and the aim about where you want to be in this position. So I will show you a little bit on the circles, yeah, how you want to be moving on a circle with your horse with these two reins, and how on a circle it's not about pulling them around with the inside rein. It's that on the direct inside rein there's a proper ask, yield, give, search process. So on this rein, when I close my hand, like we saw in groundwork, I would like her to softly yield through the pole. If she's connected on the inside hind leg, that will happen. And then when I open my hand, she will search gently and forward down. So you first need that. You first need that this direct inside rein is working well on the circle. It's not about pulling her around, but it's that she's moving and bending and turning around on the circle on the inside hind leg. And then as a result of that, there'll be a proper ask, yield, give, search process. I'll just step back a little bit again because the camera isn't liking me too close. And then when that's present in all the exercises, actually, not just in the circle, but when the ask and yield, give, search process is present on the direct rein, then only then can you start to influence the shoulders indirectly with the reins. And it's something, again, a pitfall most students get into is they have these two reins. When they start having two reins in their hand, they forget about the ask, yield, give, search process, and then try and influence the shoulders before they have that, and then the horse will stiffen, tilt the head, just push the nose in front of the vertical, or get heavy in the hand, or something like that. So you have to do it in that sequence of order, that you have this ask, yield, give, search process. And in the very beginning, for some of you guys that are just starting off with the curb rein, you really just need to get good with holding it. Just hold it in your hands. You don't need to particularly do a lot with it to start with. It's only as you start to advance more through the exercises and really working more and more and more on this collection that you can start making little upward gear and air half halts with it. But the advantage of a curb is that if you have a horse where you're taking them and train them all the way up to the rambert, if they're very, very stiff in the hand, you can just ask a little bit with the curb, just for a little bit of softening and flexion through the pole. So at some point in the training, depending on the horse, you can start to influence and use it a little bit. It just depends on what you need to do with the horse to help soften up and release all the blockages. But yeah, as I say, for today we'll look at some of these exercises you asked for in particular. So I'm just going to ask Millie, put my whip here on this hand. This hand, so the whip goes here. Put the whip like that, and then you put the two fingers coming through the reins here, like this. And then I can ask just ask a little soften, good gal. And then again we ask you to move forward from behind. Yeah, move forward here, nice girl. There we go. So again, twinkling behind, scanning behind, just make sure she's stepping under properly. And as a result, is she soft and yielding to my direct inside rein? So really what you really want to feel and look for is that, see, my hands are quite close together, they're almost touching. That's quite important. So I'm not pulling the inside rein to the inside, but that she's giving me the bending and turning from the inside hind leg. Oh, sorry, Millie. Something started with you there, never mind. And then you can also see how soft the inside reins are. That's another pitfall, is that a lot of the times people are doing too much on the inside rein, and the inside rein then gets very tight. But actually you want the inside rein to be soft. See how soft that is? And it's more that the outside rein, you have a soft feel into the shoulder with the outside rein. So in a way, stop here a second. So in a way, it's more, it's more that, I'll just give her a goodie while I'm talking. It's more that if the horse is giving you the bending, the LFS, then she will be soft and yielding on that inside rein. So that should be kind of a little bit mostly looped like that and soft. And then the outside rein, you just pick up a little bit more feel. You don't want it stiff and tight, because if you have it stiff and tight, then that starts to become a direct rein, and then that makes it bend the wrong way. But it's just a feel into the outside rein, because another common pitfall is that when people do work in hand, whether it's with one rein or two reins, is that this one's tight because they're pulling them around on the circle on this rein, and then the outside rein's doing nothing. There's no guidance with it. But you need to have a feel with the outside rein, feel of the shoulder, outside shoulder with the outside rein, and soft yielding inside rein. So I'll show you again the other side. Now, what's really important as well is when we get to move to the other side, we reposition the reins properly. So I put them all the way over. If I don't, then what can happen is it can get stuck under here, like that. But if you put them all the way over like that, and then move to the other side, that cavesson rein won't get stuck under your curb. In or shoulder forward. Yeah, super good. So again, I'm checking the inside hind leg, that she's doing something there. And it's, yeah, you see it's the inside rein quite soft. Let's give her. Reposition the reins as they slip down the neck, and then for shoulder in, nice soft yielding on the inside rein, and then you can have even more angle. Whoops. Get the shoulder in. And I just bring the shoulders a little bit in with the indirect outside rein. Whoops. Sorry, maybe. Repositioning the reins. And then for Rambert, yeah, we do it from a shoulder in angle. So see here how she's in quite a good angle where in a way the inside hind leg's tracking into the outside front foot. I can give her a goodie as I talk. And from this then position, you can set that into a Rambert, because actually a Rambert is the same position of the feet as the shoulder in. So a Rambert now, if I rebend her, is just a different bending. So a shoulder in to the left is this footfall like this, but with a bending to the left, and a Rambert now would be same footfall, but a bending to the right. So that's why you always set up the Rambert from a shoulder in. The pitfalls with the Rambert is that people are often too close here, but you need to be able to give your horse enough space, bring the shoulders in, and have enough space to bend, enough in the body. So when we ask for a touch or see a touchstone, we always want to see the Rambert coming toward the camera, because then we can see if the horse has enough bend through the body. Oftentimes you'll see that there's not enough bend, and the horse is just a bit too straight with the nose looking toward the camera too much. But what you really want is a good bending through the body, so the nose is directly down the track, and clearly the hind legs are on the track and the front legs are off the track. So from this position, I can show you a little bit if I rebend her at standstill. I just ask give, the direct, with the new direct inside rein, which will be then the right rein. Good. And she takes a bending, and then see, good gal, see how her nose is down the track? Good gal. And I ask give. So, yeah, see, they're all down, and then the hind legs are on the track. But I'm not on top of her like this. I give her enough space to figure out how to, good girl, how to keep that position. Good girl.